In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful. After presenting the analysis related to the main part of the animation, in this part of our discussion, we further dissect the events occurred in 2019 and 2020 and their connection with the Petcode 2 animation. Some of these events have not been directly indicated in the animation. However, there is a precise link between them, and some of the messages presented within the animation, which we shall review. As it was mentioned in preceding sections, the Freemasonry and Illuminati began the Masonic resurrection of the Antichrist for his coronation in Jerusalem or Beit el-Maqdis by setting the Notre Dame Cathedral on fire in April 2019. This was coincided with the specific astronomical position of the Regulus star relative to the Moon. After the Notre Dame Cathedral fire, a sequence of events took place in April 2019, almost simultaneous with the Christian Easter that complemented the resurrection rituals of the Antichrist. Some of the most important events in this regard include the suspicious explosion and fire in some churches of Sri Lanka, as well as the victims in the infidel pagan festival Rabbits Eat Lettuce. In the same year, many skirmishes and fights took place in various lands. For instance, we can point to the continued conflicts in Syria, unrest in Lebanon, chaos in Iraq, local unrests in Iran, and many other disturbances and political conflicts all over the world, which were all held for the accomplishment of the Masonic 33rd degree slogan, Ordo ab Chao, or Order from Within Chaos. This is done so that the New World Order, led by the Antichrist in Jerusalem, is facilitated in the aftermath of large disruptions. At the same time, the planned impeachment proceedings of Donald Trump began in the USA, and in parallel, news came of a new emerging contagious disease in China. While the whole world was quickly being embroiled in political and economic changes, news broke that pained the hearts of the pious and oppressed people in the world and created shockwaves, which was the news of the commander of Quds Force General Qasem Soleimani's martyrdom and his comrades in a terrorist operation near Baghdad airport with the codename Blue Lightning. Following this criminal act of the USA and its allies, a period of military tensions began between Iran and the US, which ended with Iran's missile strike against the American military base in Ain al-Assad. Meanwhile, the forged proceedings of Donald Trump's impeachment with the codename Ukrainegate ended, in which Trump was acquitted. Following these events, Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu unveiled the deal of the century further along the Antichrist's resurrection project, which facilitated the coronation of the Antichrist, as well as installing various Palestinians' rights and turning Quds into a Jewish land. At the same time, news of the expansive fires in Australia and Oceania, which were relatively unprecedented in history, was transmitted worldwide. Concurrently, some important international media sources reported on the discovery of a location in Australia in which a comet had collided with Earth and ended the Ice Age. Gradually, the news of the spread of a new disease caused by the coronavirus turned into the news headlines worldwide and was the number one news piece of global media at the time of this research publication. As the coronavirus spread and caused the wide closing of various industries and businesses, a severe plunge occurred in economic indices around the world. However, it would seem that the path of the global Freemasonry and Illuminati conspiracies has not yet come to its end, and that the Middle East region as well as Levant and Mesopotamia shall be engulfed in new conflicts and battles. In truth, the region's countries struggle with the corona disease, and its economic and social consequences has created the best opportunity for blitz operations, so that the global Freemasonry's agents and representatives in Middle East can put an end to the complex division and segmentation issue in Levant and Mesopotamia regions, and take advantage of the struggles of the resistant countries of the region with coronavirus pandemic and its consequences to find dominance in the region. In addition, considering the high importance of the 33rd degree Freemasonry slogan, Ordo ab Chao, or Order from Within Chaos, the Freemasons and Illuminati have planned different riots and disruptions in various lands such as Europe, America, Middle East, Far East, and all over the world, with jokers, vandals, and anarchists as their vanguards. With their help, Freemasons are destroying the current order governing the world to create the New World Order centered in Jerusalem or Beit el-Maqdis. At this rate, soon we shall see the collapse of the European Union, the United States of America, NATO, China's economic superiority, and the collapse of other political and economic treaties all over the world. Because according to the Masonic Phoenix symbol, the previous Phoenix must catch on fire and burn so that the new Phoenix can rise out of its ashes. Thus, all the famous world orders must turn to disorder so that the new world order, led by the Antichrist, can be established in Jerusalem. It is noteworthy that all these plans are being carried out by the Illuminati so that the people around the world get frustrated with the despairing crisis and ask for a hero and savior. This false hero and savior would be none other than the Antichrist. In truth, the title given to him in Islamic tales is the false Christ or the false savior, because the Antichrist shall try to present himself as a savior by creating severe and great crises and then rectifying these self-made crises. Taking into account what has been said, it seems that with the beginning of the Antichrist's resurrection since April 2019, the flow of crises all over the world has entered a new phase. The Freemasons are going to increase the severity of these crises day by day. As to when the efforts for the Antichrist's inauguration reach their final stage and all of the Illuminati's focus turns towards Jerusalem is not clear. Naturally, Freemasons and Illuminati shall try to execute the final phase in Jerusalem as quickly as possible and finalize the deal of the century. However, the regional and global equations may change the timing. In total, we can conclude that the Antichrist's coronation in Jerusalem has been planned for the following years, and either spring or the beginning of summer has been chosen for this purpose. In any case, the precise timing of this plan may change based on the worldwide circumstances. Some important points were mentioned concerning the many accomplished plans of the Freemasons and Illuminati in 2019 and 2020. Issues such as the Notre Dame Cathedral fire, wildfires in Australia, the pagan infidel Rabbits Eat Lettuce Festival in Australia, the martyrdom of General Qasem Soleimani and his companions, the forged local disputes within the United States of America's leadership, and the beginning of the global economic plunge were all discussed in previous sections of the analysis. In this section, we shall discuss some other issues that may require more explanations as well as other matters that are indirectly related to the subjects discussed regarding the iPad Go-To animation. In recent years, especially 2019 and 2020, can be known as the years of the Parade of the Fools. Within these years, the fool or clone-like characters such as Donald Trump and Boris Johnson have been present in the political field, much like the Mad Hatters and Jokers in the cinema, and the symbolic presence of the Jokers in commotions, which are examples of the Parade of Fools in the apocalyptic plans of the Freemasonry for the recent years. But where does the Parade of Fools originate from? We should have another look at the Kabbalah tree and tarot cards to better comprehend this notion. As it was mentioned, in Kabbalah beliefs, which are a favorite of the Freemasonry and Illuminati, the Kabbalah tree is consisted of 10 sephirot. The highest sephirot is the crown, which is called Kether in Hebrew and Corona in Latin. It is the place from which the lightning of creation originates. Next to this sephirot is where another grand tarot card, the Fool, is positioned, which is one of the Thoth Tarot Trump card series. The equivalent of the Fool card in customized version of Alice in Wonderland tarot cards has a picture of the Mad Hatter character. Also in normal cards, the Joker card is the equivalent to the Fool card of tarot. Hence, we find out that the closest position to the crown sephirot, where the lightning of creation originates in the Kabbalah tree, belongs to the Fool card or its equivalents, meaning Mad Hatter or Joker. For the same reason, in recent years, the Freemasonry and Illuminati have placed seemingly foolish characters like Donald Trump and Boris Johnson in positions of power within the USA and Britain, respectively. In addition, they have supported the anarchists and vandalists, wearing Joker masks within the social unrests originated from the middle and low-income population of the society, to the extent that in many of the social unrests and protests around the world, from Lebanon and Iraq to Bolivia, Hong Kong, and Spain in 2019 and 2020, the protesters used masks and face paints of the Joker. Furthermore, in the media level, the Joker movie was heavily advertised and received numerous awards such as the Oscars, Golden Globe, and so on. On the other hand, from 2016 until now, the Mad Hatter character had a special role in Alice in Wonderland movie series, especially Alice Through the Looking Glass, in which he is introduced as the main character alongside Alice. There is a very important notion regarding the Fool card of Grand Tarot cards, the Joker and Mad Hatter. They have been described by people around them as fool or insane. However, in practice, they are wiser, braver, and more goal-oriented than the people around them. For instance, in the book The Fool's Pilgrimage, Kabbalistic Meditations on the Tarot, it has been mentioned about the Fool that the eternal passenger, one who wanders around all corners of the universe, prepared and ready for any important task, whether it is of liberty or restriction. He is known with the name the Fool, but in truth, he is the master of all. Furthermore, in the movie Alice Through the Looking Glass, when Alice's friends tell her the Mad Hatter is insane, Alice responds, "Hatter is not insane. His apparent insanity is the result of his greatness and perfection."
What's the matter?
The Hatter's the matter.
Or the matter of the Hatter. The former. No, the latter.
Tweedles.
He's mad.
The Hatter? Yes, I know. That's his muchness. That's what makes him so... him.
But he's grown darker, less dafter, denies himself laughter.
And no scheme of ours can raise any sort of smile. We'd rather hoped you might help us save him.
In addition to the above, in the Joker movie in 2019, in spite of the insane and deconstructive actions and crimes committed by him, in practice all his deeds and the ensuing riots are induced as logical to the audience. In truth, it is implied within the context of the film that the wisest person in the society is in fact the Joker himself, though he may seem insane.
Well, let me get this straight. You think that killing those guys is funny?
I do. And I'm tired of pretending it's not. Comedy is subjective, Murray. Isn't that what they say? All of you, the system that knows so much, you decide what's right or wrong the same way that you decide what's funny or not.
Okay, I think I might understand that you did this to start a movement, to become a symbol.
Come on, Murray. Do I look like the kind of clown that could start a movement? I killed those guys because they were awful. Everybody is awful these days. It's enough to make anyone crazy.
Okay, so that's it. You're crazy. That's your defense for killing 3 young men?
No. They couldn't carry a tune to save their lives. Oh, why is everybody so upset about these guys? If it was me dying on the sidewalk, you'd walk right over me. I pass you every day and you don't notice me. But these guys, what, because Thomas Wayne went and cried about them on TV?
Thus, in the views of Freemasonry and Illuminati, the word fool does not mean a stupid person. It means someone who seems stupid in appearance, but he has the attributes of courage, ambition, deconstruction, and even innate intelligence within. The character, the fool, is practically considered a fine leader for sensitive historical periods of the Illuminati. The first message that the aforementioned points convey is that the empowerment of the fools such as Donald Trump and Boris Johnson at the head of the superpowers' political orders and the formation of commotions and unrest all over the world, spearheaded by the jokers, are both the sides of the same coin. In fact, the aforementioned are formed to create instability within the current world order and facilitate the new world order and the return of the Antichrist. This issue is connected with the astrological event of the Regulus star or Alpha Leonis repositioning from the Leo constellation to the Virgo constellation in 2012. Since in the deviated Freemasonry beliefs, this astrological event is concurrent with disruptions in political, social, and economic systems of the world, followed by extensive social unrests and the destruction of the divine religions. The second message received from these points is the fact that many of the prominent Masonic politicians and characters are conceived as fools in the eyes of the common people. However, in contrast to their appearance, they are very intelligent, courageous, and ambitious. This apparent stupidity of theirs is considered as a part of their special attributes in the eyes of the global Freemasonry and Illuminati. For instance, although Donald Trump himself is an irrelevant, vulgar, and seemingly foolish person, he has a high level of intelligence and is among the most successful international entrepreneurs, to the extent that before his term as the president, his books on entrepreneurship were among the best sellers in the field all over the world. Hence, it would seem that although many of the tweets, speeches, and the words used by him seem peculiar and foolish, they have important codes embedded within. We shall now allude to 2 examples of the important codes used in Donald Trump's tweets and speeches in 2020. In 2020, and after the savage terrorist operation by American forces near Baghdad airport, which led to the martyrdom of General Qasem Soleimani and his companions, a short-term military tension began between Iran and the USA. During this time, a tweet was sent by Donald Trump in which he threatened Iran against a military strike on American assets by targeting 52 locations in Iran that are important cultural sites. Trump had claimed that these 52 targets are reminiscent of the 52 American hostages taken by Iran in 1979. This threat ensued many reactions in Iran and other countries around the world, and many considered the tweet as an act of imprudence that is based on anger, while in truth, this tweet contained an important code for the members of the evil Freemasonry societies around the globe. In fact, Trump's indication of targeting 52 cultural centers, which were later found to be mostly religious centers according to later interpretations, is alluding to a Great London Fire in 1666, when many churches burned and 52 churches were renovated by the famous Freemason Sir Christopher Wren. These were all discussed within the subject of the St. Peter upon Cornhill Church. Using the code word 52 to indicate the Great London Fire of 1666, cryptically transmitted the message to Illuminati members worldwide that Trump's opposition with Iran is similar to the London Fire disaster in 1666, in the same way that the London wildfire was turning point in Masonic history by leading this secret cult out of hiding into the public to conduct social activities. Trump is also ready this time to usher a new Masonic era by targeting 52 cultural religious centers and accelerate the processes concerning the deal of the century. Therefore, the origin of the number 52 does not have anything to do with the hostages in 1979, and in truth, these hostages were 66 people and reduced to 53 and 52 people in different periods. Hence, it is more likely that this issue has been an excuse for the announcement of number 52, not the real reason. The real reason for using number 52, in addition to the code phrase cultural centers, is the cryptic indication of the Great London Fire and sending the signal to Illuminati members to prepare for the beginning of the new Masonic age. Indeed, such seemingly foolish words have been spoken in other times as well. For instance, Donald Trump said in a seemingly meaningless and silly speech in 2020 that in his opinion, there is no sense for a South Korean film to win the Oscar prize. But in his opinion, the empty space left by old films such as Gone with the Wind can be filled, and such films would be worthy of receiving the Academy Awards.
By the way, how bad were the Academy Awards this year? Did you see it? And the winner is a movie from South Korea. What the hell was that all about? We got enough problems with South Korea with trade. On top of it, they give him the best movie of the year. Was it good? I don't know. You know, I'm looking for like, where let's get Gone with the Wind. Can we get like Gone with the Wind back, please?
At first, these statements of Trump may seem ridiculous and foolish. However, he has sent another code regarding the deal of the century in his speech. In truth, this new code has been sent to other members of the Freemasonry and Illuminati using the Gone with the Wind movie name. The Gone with the Wind was displayed on the silver screen in 1939 and has a seemingly dramatic love theme, which takes place in the era of the American Civil War. The leading character in the story is a young girl called Scarlett, who is a wealthy, noble woman of Irish descent. Scarlett is fearless and brave and has many lovers. She marries several times because of the death of her spouses, and finally, after losing her children and divorcing her last husband, she determinedly begins the renovation of his paternal properties on a hill called Tara, near the 12 Oaks region. This attractive film is seemingly a romantic drama. However, the truth is quite contrary to what is imagined. This film has secretly and shrewdly published very important messages related to the plans of the global Zionists and Illuminati for the members of these cults. This film has indicated that in any high or low point of life, after many challenges and difficulties, nothing is as important as the soil of the paternal land.
But what difference does it make who you marry, so long as he's a southerner and thinks like you? And when I'm gone, I leave Tara to you.
I don't want Tara. Plantations don't mean anything when...
Do you mean to tell me, Katie Scarlett O'Hara, that Tara, that land doesn't mean anything to you? Why, land is the only thing in the world worth working for, worth fighting for, worth dying for. Because it's the only thing that lasts.
Oh, Paul, you talk like an Irishman.
It's proud I am that I'm Irish. And don't you be forgetting, Missy, that you're half Irish too. And to anyone with a drop of Irish blood in them, why, the land they live on is like their mother. Oh, but there, now you're just a child. It'll come to you, this love of the land. There's no getting away from it if you're Irish. You mean to tell me, Katie Scarlett O'Hara, that Tara doesn't mean anything to you? When land's the only thing that matters. It's the only thing that lasts.
Something you love better than me, though you may not know it. Tara. It's this from which you get your strength. The red earth of Tara.
When land's the only thing that matters. It's the only thing that lasts.
Something you love better than me, though you may not know it. Tara. This from which you get your strength. Red earth of Tara.
When land's the only thing that matters.
Something you love better than me. Red earth of Tara.
Tara.
Tara. Tara.
I'll go home. But I'll think of some way to get him back. After all, tomorrow is another day.
The name of this paternal land in Gone with the Wind is Tara, which after further deliberation is found to be the ancient Hill region of Tara in Ireland, where it is claimed to house the Ark of the Covenant of Jews that was taken from Jerusalem. The ancient Tara Hill in the Republic of Ireland has been excavated numerous times by Israeli-Irish archaeologists with the claim of the existence of the Ark of the Covenant within. The other important point concerning the character of Scarlett in Gone with the Wind is the fact that her father repeatedly reminds her that she's Irish. This seemingly unnecessary insistence is done in order to send the Tara plus Ireland code to Illuminati members in order to draw their attention towards the claim that the Ark of Covenant is within the ancient hills of Tara in Ireland. Furthermore, Tara Hill is located near the 12 Oaks region. This entails Jewish and Zionist symbology since it indicates the oak tree, which is the sacred tree of Jews and Freemasons, while also indicating the 12 tribes of Jews, the children of Prophet Jacob. On the other hand, in the Gone with the Wind movie, only one part of the Old Testament is read directly and clearly by the priest, which is a part of the Psalm 23 of David, to the extent that the words Valley of the Shadow of Death are accurately uttered during the American Civil War scenes.
Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff.
Following this part of the movie, Scarlett's hero-like passing over dangers and killings around her is clearly observed, which again emphasizes Psalm 23 of David, or passing through the valley of the shadow of death. It is essential to note that the movie Gone with the Wind, with its Zionist and Masonic concepts, was released in 1939, which is a key year within the Freemasonry history. Because in 1939, the World War II began, which was the beginning of the transfer of the Freemasonry and Illuminati's base from Britain to the USA. It is fascinating that this movie, with its Masonic and Zionist concepts of returning to the Promised Land, was released in 1939, when the false Israel regime was not still established within the lands of Palestine and the Jerusalem region. Hence, we can realize that the indication of Psalm 23 of David and the Gone with the Wind movie at the beginning of World War II was done at the time when the world was grappling with great wars and the world of Freemasonry and Illuminati was ready to move its global base from Britain to the USA. At the moment, the world is in a similar state as well. That is why pointing towards the Gone with the Wind movie in Donald Trump's apparently peculiar speech at the start of 2020 is in fact a cryptic allusion towards the Freemasons' upcoming Psalm 23 of David plan and their preparedness for passing through the valley of the shadow of death, following which the Illuminati base shall be transferred from the USA to Jerusalem or Beit el-Maqdis. It is very interesting that Tenzin Gyatso, titled Dalai Lama, the leader of the global Buddhist and a member of the Masonic Order of Malta Group, asked his followers to pray Tara Mantra or Green Tara Mantra at the same time in the beginning of the year 2020 in order to combat the coronavirus. The words Green Tara are in fact an indication towards the infidel Buddhist goddess Tara and another indication towards both the Ark of Covenant and the ancient Tara Hill as its potential location. On the other hand, the aforementioned point shows that even the seemingly silly statements of politicians such as Donald Trump, or even some seemingly unrelated speeches like Dalai Lama's, contain secret information and codes that are used for sending coordination signals between different members of the Illuminati around the world. One of the essential points in Donald Trump's speech at the beginning of 2020, on praising the Gone with the Wind movie and wishing for recreating similar movies, was sending a signal to initiate the brutal treatment with black people in the United States. In practice, murdering George Floyd, an African-American man, by the U.S. police force triggered protests all over America. The mentioned issue is considerable because the theme of the Gone with the Wind movie is related to racial discrimination, which has been repeatedly reflected in the media. In other words, a few weeks after that, Donald Trump referred to the Gone with the Wind movie in his speech. The brutal actions of the U.S. police force against George Floyd and some other African-American people occurred. These actions provoked turmoils all over the United States, which are continued until today. Another important point about the mention of the Gone with the Wind movie in Donald Trump's speech was that another secret code was dispatched by him, and the mentioned code was the starting signal of civil war in the United States of America. Since the most significant issue that affected the characters and their relationships in the story of the Gone with the Wind was the American Civil War, it is astonishing that, shortly after the speech, following the murder of George Floyd, intense and uncontrollable tensions occurred all over the United States. These tensions were intensified by an electoral altercation between Joe Biden and Donald Trump in a way that a warning of a new American Civil War has been announced in the media by the U.S. political figures, thinkers, and security agencies. It is also a considerable fact that in the Gone with the Wind movie, Scarlett and her companions, after suffering from several hardships and through fire and blood, escaped from the American Civil War scene to the 12 Oaks and the Hill of Tara. That is, they returned to the fatherland. Previous decipherments revealed that the Tara and 12 Oaks areas are related to the Ark of the Covenant of the Jews. Therefore, the fatherland in the movie is a symbol of the promised land claimed by Jews and Freemasons, and implicitly refers to the ancient Hill of Tara in Ireland and Jerusalem as well. The translation of the mentioned movie scenes into today's language through decipherments indicates that in 2020, the Civil War were initiated in the United States of America. Jews and Freemasons will return to the promised land of Jerusalem through fire and blood and through the valley of the shadow of death, as described in Psalm 23 of David in the Old Testament, to start the new world order and rebuild the destructed world involved in wars, insecurity, economic poverty, and so on. Therefore, Donald Trump's seemingly stupid speech on the Gone with the Wind movie at the beginning of 2020 was also another code for initiating the American Civil War and the collapse of the United States. This is the plan that global Freemasonry has considered for the coming months. The other important example regarding the sending of cryptic codes for the Illuminati that we can discuss about is the American media and Donald Trump's personal emphasis on using the expression brain injury for the soldiers killed in Iran's accurate missile strike on the American military base Ain al-Assad. As we know, Iran's missile strike on the American military base Ain al-Assad in Iraq was a response to the savage and craven assassination of the commander of Iran's Quds Force, General Qasem Soleimani, and his companions by the American executioners. After this Iranian missile strike, a severe censorship was observed in Western media, and an official statistics report was never released that showed the exact number of people injured or killed in an American base within Ain al-Assad. In any case, a few days later, Donald Trump, American officials, and even the Western media used the certainly peculiar expression brain injury. It is noteworthy that the missile is certainly not looking for the people's brain when hitting its target so that it can specifically target their brains. In fact, numerous and various damages that can lead to death may occur, such as the damage to rib cage, stomach injuries, dismemberment and heavy bleeding from arms and legs, damages to large vessels, etc. Hence, the seemingly foolish emphasis on the expression brain injury regarding the American soldiers who were killed or injured in Iran's missile strike indicates that we should look for an important code within these peculiar expressions. The code is decrypted when we consider that Iran's missile strike against the US military forces was done in response to American soldiers' terrorist operation with the code word Blue Lightning. By placing the word lightning and brain together, we find the code word used in the initial scenes of the animation. The images in the aforementioned scene, which itself is rooted in the Kabbalah tree and the lightning of creation, that is connected to the brain symbol representing the Kabbalistic wisdom. In other words, the media outlets connected to Donald Trump and his indication towards brain injury after the Blue Lightning terrorist operation is a cryptic message to members of the global Freemasonry and Illuminati to reassure them that in spite of Iran's powerful missile response to American military forces, Donald Trump and the forces under his command are still persistent in executing their apocalyptic plans for finalizing the deal of the century and the transfer of power from the US to Jerusalem. Hence, this peculiar message has such an important code embedded within. One of the apparently less important news, which was published in the media at the beginning of 2020, was the discovery of the location in which a comet had collided with Earth, effectively ending the Ice Age in the prehistoric era. There are some factors surrounding this seemingly completely scientific news, which indicate that some codes have been transferred via its publication. It was mentioned in the news that scientists have found out the crater where the comet has hit Australia in the Yarra Baba region, the same comet that its collision with the Earth spelled the end of the Ice Age. The very important point in this regard is that the crater of the Yarra Baba region in Australia was discovered by the scientists years ago. However, the claim that the same crater among all others on Earth was the one responsible for ending the Ice Age concurrent with the beginning of the year 2020 and the unprecedented wildfires in Australia is itself considered another coded signal. The existence of the expressions such as the Ice Age, the fall of the comet or an asteroid, and the wildfires in Australia next to each other all remind us of the infidel Masonic myth of the Blue Child or Nofemblu. The myth was comprehensively discussed previously and we would not repeat it again. However, the legend states that the Blue Child was a fallen star from the sky that collided with Earth in the Ice Age and reignited the dying embers of the withering tribe's fire, easing all the hardships of the Ice Age for the human tribe with his presence. In other words, the publication of the news indicating the location of the comet's collision, which ended the Ice Age at the same time as the great Australian wildfires, is cryptically indicating the story of the Blue Child or Nofemblu. It is sending the signal to Freemasons and Illuminati members worldwide that the end of the Ice Age is nigh and the devil's descent for ending the Illuminati Ice Age and raising the flag of the Masonic Holy Fire is close. Surely, this signal entails another similar sign as well. The martyrdom of General Qasem Soleimani and his comrades in arms in winter via the terrorist operation of the United States of America's Army with the code named Blue Lightning, which was carried out by the Hellfire missiles of the American drone, is sending another signal to the global Freemasonry have designed this plan for the resurrection of the Antichrist and the devil's descent. This plan was made to facilitate the final movements of the Freemasons for the establishment of the New World Order in Jerusalem or Beit el-Maqdis. Another point that is consistent with the above analysis is that in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 10, verse 18, it is said, "And he said to them, I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven." This description, which depicts the devil descending from the sky like lightning, further confirms the analysis of the phrase blue lightning and its connection to the evil operations of the American terrorist armed forces in the martyrdom of General Qasem Soleimani. It must be noted that some suspicious movements in recent years confirm the hypothesis of Freemasonry and Illuminati are providing the basis to establish a global government. Among these suspicious movements, we can mention the actions of SpaceX company managed by Elon Musk. This company has initiated significant and operational activities to develop a low-cost global high-speed satellite internet called the Starlink. Based on the Starlink, and by sending hundreds of satellites into space, using low-cost and high-speed internet all around the world, even in the most impassable areas, would become possible. All people will be able to connect to the internet with the highest speed and best quality simply by having a satellite modem smaller than a pizza box. In this regard, essential actions have been executed and several satellites have been sent to Earth orbits through each launch. Sometimes, in a signal launch, up to 60 satellites have been sent into space. This project initiated its experimental phase in some regions and is scheduled to be fully commercialized by the summer of 2021. With the complete launch of this internet, it will be impossible to impose restrictions and controls on the internet by the countries. That is, any user all over the world would be able to access the internet using SpaceX company modems. Consequently, the control of the global internet will be practically in the hands of SpaceX, Elon Musk, and his allies. Thus, according to the opinion of the owners of this global internet, it would be possible to use this internet to provoke disorder, chaos, protests, and the objectification of ordo ab chao, or order out of chaos motto of the 33rd degree of Freemasonry. Therefore, the independent countries will not be able to control the turmoil by limiting the internet. This issue provides a great opportunity to create global chaos. Hence, the only way for independent countries to encounter with the potential threats of Starlink to their territorial security will be a content-based confrontation. After objectification of the ordo ab chao and establishment of a new world order centered in Jerusalem, the global Freemasonry intends to constantly control and monitor all the cities and villages of the world using this global internet to preserve the new world order, the repression of dissenting citizens, and the development of its propaganda. In general, it seems that although a low-cost global internet has many beneficial applications regarding communication, education, entertainment, telemedicine, telecommuting development, utilization of the Internet of Things, etc., it contains crucial and potentially dangerous threats. The independent and anti-Masonry countries must be prepared for the content-based confrontation with the detrimental consequences of this project.